Greetings everyone, Nick DiVirgilio here, and today's video is on a monster snare drum. The Terminator is back. That was a really poor Arnold impression, but this is the TAMA Mastercraft Bell Brass 14 by 6.5 snare drum. Okay, I promise not to do any more Arnold Schwarzenegger impressions in this whole video, I promise, okay? Today, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of TAMA, and they are releasing some fantastic gear to celebrate that anniversary. This snare drum is one of the many reasons so many of us fell in love with TAMA drums. Hoshino, the parent company of TAMA, started branding the drums with the TAMA name in 1974. And soon after that, some of the most iconic drums in history came onto the scene. In 1980, TAMA released the Mastercraft 14 by 6.5 Bell Brass snare. The drum turned heads immediately, and it made its way onto many of rock's biggest records. It was loud, powerful, microphone friendly, and just sat perfectly in the mix. The original TAMA Bell Brass snare is very much sought after if you can even find one now. 50 years later, TAMA has faithfully reproduced this classic snare, and it's incredible. Before we get into this snare drum, I ask that you like this video and subscribe to our channel if you're not already a subscriber. This drum is a 14 by 6.5 3mm seamless bell brass shell that incorporates a special blend of copper and tin. The bell brass shell itself is hand finished in an aged verdigris patina. So basically, it just looks old and used, but it's brand new. They treated it really well. Some other features of the snare are the original Superstar badge. Just looks great on these shells. 10 original Superstar lugs. Die-cast hoops, which is awesome. This shell, with those die-cast hoops, you're gonna get a really loud crack every time you do a rim shot on this drum. One of the nicest pieces of hardware on the drum is the throw-off and strainer, the roller action strainer with extended snare wires. Another very cool piece on this drum is the one-touch tone control. Now, I don't know why modern drums have changed, but back in my day, which it really isn't that long ago, but back in my day, a lot of snare drums had the dampeners on the inside. You didn't have to use things like snare weights or moon gels or tape because you had the dampener on the inside. Well, TAMA has gone old school and recreated this snare drum like they did back in the day, and you have a tone control right on the side of the drum, and it'll dampen from the inside. And we'll get into what it sounds like in just a moment. And last but not least, you get TAMA/Remo heads for the resonant and batter side of this drum. Before we get into the sound of this drum, let me quickly go through the rest of this great gear I have with me in this video today. You're looking at the Reissue TAMA Superstar kick drum and floor tom. Great drums. There's a video on that kit if you want to check it out. I have Telefunken mics, M80 and M81s on the snare and the floor tom. For the overheads are Earthworks SR25s. In front of the kick drum is a Beyerdynamic TG D71. There's also a Neumann U87 out in front of the drum kit and an AEA N8 ribbon microphone out in the room. All of these things together going into a couple of Apollo 8Ps and on into Pro Tools. And it's a lot of microphones, but I just want you to hear these drums in their natural state. So everything's just going straight in, and that's how you're hearing this drum kit and this snare drum. Okay, now to the sound of this drum. I'm gonna start with the snare wires off, and one thing you're gonna notice about this drum is this big, round sound. Bell brass drums are heavy and thick. This drum is no exception. Make sure when you lift this drum, you get out of the box, you use your legs, squat a little bit, because you're gonna use some muscles picking up this drum, but that's what gives it the fatness, the big sound. So start with the snare wires off, and then I'll turn them on, and then we'll do a bunch of other things too in just a second. But here we go. Great sustain. I love the way the drum sustains and that sound. It's really beautiful. You put that in the mix of a rock tune, it's not gonna take over, it's just gonna give the drum life inside distorted guitars and basses and vocals. It's really gonna sit nicely. Snare wire's back off. Now I'm gonna use the one-touch tone control, and you can check out the difference in the sound. So first, wide open, and then you'll hear it dampened a little bit. Here we go. What's nice about the one-touch tone control is that it doesn't dampen it too much. You still get some life and a little bit of sustain out of the drum. And if you want to dampen it even more, you can put a snare weight on or something on top. But this gives it a nice musical tone that's just that much different than when it's wide open. Let's do the same thing with the snare wires on. Here we go. Another very cool thing about this snare drum is every stroke is heard, whether it's soft or loud. There's such definition in this shell and the way that it's all put together, you really hear everything you're doing. Now for some fun here, let's change the tuning. The drum is tuned exactly the way it came out of the box. I really didn't touch it at all, and it sounds great like this. So whatever they did at the factory, they did it right. But now let's take it up in tuning a little bit and then a little bit down, and just see where this drum can go, because this is not a one-trick pony. It's not just for rock and roll. You can use this for anything, really. So let's see what it sounds like. First, I'm gonna go up. Okay, I took it up quite a bit. I'll start with the snare wires off and then turn them on. Here we go. Such a crack. I mean, it's like a machine gun, but in a great musical way, man. You can really hear it, and it's loud, and it feels good under the hands. That's the best part, is that when I just really crack into this snare, there's no vibration or weirdness up my forearms. It just all feels really good, and I want to play. That's the coolest thing about it. It makes you want to play. Now, let's tune this snare drum down quite a bit and see how it sounds low and thuddy. I mean, I think I have these first few lugs here close to me almost completely loose. And it has a great thuddy, just big, deep, fat sound. Here we go. Check it out. This drum will go all over the place. So great studio drum, great live drum if you want to carry it around town, even at its heavy weight. But this drum's gonna last you a lifetime. It's really musical. It has great tone, great body, and it just feels good underneath the hands. And there you go, the TAMA Mastercraft Bell Brass 14 by 6.5 snare drum. Amazing sound, feel, look, and vibe. If you want any more information on this TAMA product or any other TAMA product we carry here at Sweetwater, make sure you go to sweetwater.com or reach out to your Sweetwater sales engineer. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, everybody. I'm Nick DiVirgilio, and I'll see you again next time. Cheers.